Before we get to this video or this review, I've actually have some basically memory lane out there. Yes, for anyone, I've actually covered all, well, technically 2 of the masks that I don't have acquired. One is the Korea version and the Japanese version. Yes, a pretty rare one. But there's actually pieces that, let's bring them out here. First of all, the Soviet SHMB. The Polish MP4 and even the MP4B. The Czech M10 and the M10M. And the most bean-chilling moment out here, the Types Fit 65. What do all of them have them in common? Well, the answer is something came from this good little guy. Or rather, that basically went to the Cold War, well, technically to Vietnam, through the Gulf War, and then being ultimately replaced by the M40. So, let's get started on the video. So, let's begin. Well, welcome to the video, and today we're going to be taking a look at the M17 series. Yes, I'm actually saying the M17 series, but this particular version that I have is the ABC M17. But I called this as the GP5 of US gas masks, or as noticeable, the Boomer mask, or technically the Boomer gas mask, or the Vietnam War gas mask. Because not only I have this mask alone, I also have the one without the chemical hood, one with an early chemical hood, yes, and even the late version, or technically the one that was used for the Gulf War. This one's dated in 1999. Well, this guy, let me pulse this, I know it's in here somewhere. Oh, yep, it's, this one's in 78, yeah, 78, so pretty early, but not super early. Oh, don't worry, we'll get to that. And they even actually tried actually doing prototypes of it. One that was very familiar to this guy, but it's in all clear and had with silicone rubber for the whole latex allergies. And the other one, which actually tried copying another one, basically requested by the 1st Cavalry. But, oh yeah, this, a little bit of a XM, little bit of a grasshopper deal, but, XM28, but don't worry, that is definitely a separate video on its own. So, let's begin off with the history of it. Also, this side, a little side note here, this is just strictly, this video is only strictly for the M17 series. But things like the copies of it, we will do a full comparison video on that. But there's also a couple masks that I don't have in my video, or don't have in my collection, which is the Bulgarian PDE-1, the Korean M17, yep, that it is look very familiar to the M17 series, and even the quite rare Japanese, you know, Type 3. So, those I don't have. But that's a thing that's a video for another time. Let's get on to the history of it. These masks have been introduced in 1959, and, well, to be honest, and the funny part about it, they actually quickly replaced the M9 series because, and this is kind of legit on there, it's actually too bulky for the mask. So it became a standardization for all armies. And I say all armies, I mean U.S. Army, Marine Corps, the Navy, and the Air Force, alongside with other armies out there like Greece, Thai Thailand, even as a Malaysian riot police, and even the National Army of Iroquois. I guess I pronounced that name wrong, but excuse my language over that. And the funny part about it, this mask ran so long that it actually would defeat the GP5 by a long shot out there from 1959 through 1990s. Well, technically to the middle of the 1990s. In the Gulf War, yes, these guys have been used in the Gulf War, despite its, well, very questionable flaw that we will get to onto the video. So they won't have to confuse soldiers with some of them wearing like the M40 series, and then some of them would be wearing the M17. And yes, it's actually been replaced by things like the MCU series, or the MCU/2P, and of course been replaced by the M40 series, which that is a classic mask I will be getting onto after the chronological order. So let's begin with the accessories. Now, the carriers themselves, there's actually multiple of them, even including a nylon one, which that one I do not have. It's actually had the same nylon material, just like the same material with the MCU mask, which that's the one that I don't have, which I did see it at a surplus store, which I should have got. But the one that I have, this one, basically have the US, and there we go, you got the Mask Chemical Biological Field M17 A1. Yeah, pretty salty condition. And basically inside the mask, this is where you put your lenses. That's where you put your lenses in there. This is where you could put your wipes in there. And inside of the carrier, this is where you put your mask in there. Alongside with the little tab for you to put actually put maybe your chemical hood, or even your winterization kit, which that's the one that I do have in here, or rather do have in one of them. Well, that's the bare bones of it. Now, this is actually for basically for your hip out there, and this is for your leg strap. Yeah, this is for the hip strap, and this is for the leg strap. Yeah, kind of noticeable by it. This one, on the other hand, just another very familiar to it, but this one's unfortunately, yeah. And this one, on the other hand, does have the US, but this one's actually more boldened than this one right here. It actually just have a very, very slim US on there. And they have the M on there. So that's what I recall there, that this may have the M on there too. So just be aware of it. And then you got this guy here, which this is the one that I know that I got this for a reason. This one actually has the Chemical Corpse logo on there. So I think this is my more early one, because you could see the font's very different. Again, they'll have the same function as it is. But this one, on the other hand, compared to all the ones that I have, or rather to the different variants out there, it actually has a little area where you could put a little loophole in there. This one, for I recall, I think, but yeah, it actually has a little loop on that one, maybe for your belt. But kind of weird about it that actually is horizontal, not the normal way, But again, you're supposed to put it on the hip rather than the leg. And let's get on to the accessories themselves. Oh, sometimes they'll have this little fog wipes in there, in that little pocket. You know, in this one, they'll have, some of them will have none, some of them will have it. And that's actually from the early one that I have, so, well, there you go. So let's start off with the hoods. Now, this, what I recall, is the more early variant. And, now, this is actually just a very simple hood, because it doesn't have any of the more common one that we'll get onto right after this. This one, I recall, this is a more early variant out there, because this is the M6 chemical hood. The M6, and this one dated back into, I recall, basically 1978, because it's right there. And from here, there's also the pull strings, just for this entire area, just for the whole front piece area. The voice diaphragm, or voice membrane. And of course, the drawstring is basically have sheet metal right onto it. And of course, the string is basically on there. And this is actually for the arm area. Basically, go underneath the arms. Basically, the armpits. Of course, that is basically the early variant. Now, for the newer variant, rather more common, this one has a zipper on there, but the drawstring is basically the same, but the difference is this little piece on there, which I think basically more cost out there, alongside with the little Velcro piece just to secure this front piece of the zipper. And it's actually located inside, the stamp is actually inside of the mask. And let me, I know I'm trying to not to, but I have to pull that whole thing out. Of course, this is the M8A1, or, let's see, yeah, M8A2 out there. And this is the one for 1999, or I think 1981 to be exact. Yeah. But this one, on the other hand, is kind of very weird, which we'll get into inside of the mask, which, believe me, let's get on to the next accessory. Our next accessory is the lenses, or the outserts. But this one, I think this is more early variant. But what's actually interesting, and I think this may be like a copy or not, because I actually have like the M10 lenses, which they look rather the same out there. Yeah, can anyone, maybe this is like one of the more accessories, more earlier accessories to the M17, or is it just a foreign copy lens? But because all the lenses that I've seen in the M17s, or technically all the lenses that I can find, were the ones look like this. And this is kind of really bizarre case. Anyone in the comment section can tell about these two? Can tell from the two difference out there. Not only that this is like very smooth, like, meanwhile this one is rather rough looking. I want to know if this might be like a copy or something. It's kind of confusing out there. But how do you basically use the lens? Is just pull the whole lens out and just do it like this. And then you put it on the eyepiece of the mask, and then that will do and then pull it back. That will do the trick. Get to the next accessory. Our next accessory is the winterization kit. Yeah, that little kit that I have. Yeah, when I got that guy there, it actually came with this. Yeah, it actually came with that. For a little little free thing out there. And then we get to the other accessories. Noticeable is the waterproof bag for the biological mask. Yeah, pretty good in condition out there. So, and then the little pamphlet it came with, and that was actually in, I think it was actually from the bag that I got from 2015. So, and here I will actually show you all the pages to it. And this one dated in July 1972. Let us begin, little slideshow out there, and you can read it if you want to pause it. I also forgot about this one. Yep, this is the anti-dim cloth. Yep, basically, this was taken from the World War II and just put it in there. So it's kind of interesting that they decided to reuse World War II stuff in there. So that's how you call not having to replace something. Now we got all the accessories that I do own. There's also some ones that I don't own, which one particular piece that I will talk about, which it's right, that little tab thing. But let's talk about the masks themselves. Now we got to the M17, or the ABC M17. Now, okay, I got this mask and I found this for a funny price out there. $17. Oh, man. M17 for $17. Yeah, it's not really in a good condition because you can see the tape out there that I used out there because there was a lot of, problems with the mask, having lots of cracks out there. But in an okay state out there. Now, the mask that I have is... This one's from 1965. 1965 on there. And this one, 3 of the masks, technically 2 of the M7, the A1s, all have different variants out there. And this is the one from MSA 65 to E8. There's actually a lot of variants out there with different numbers out there, but of course, this is the... Now, anyone wants to know about a particular thing, and I know a lot of... What is the bottom tab out there? There was on the Polish MP4, and even the MP4B. Well, yeah, there's a little pull tab on there. And even including inside of the mask, which... Inside of the mask, of course it is. Inside of the... Oh, no! Oh, no, someone actually ripped it off. But, fear not. Fear not. You see that right in there? That little hose in there? That's actually for an accessory called the Resuscitation Tube. And yes, there is a lot of stories behind that. Now, to actually use resuscitation, first of all, and this is like the most cursed thing out there, you gotta have to pull the mask out of the person and then using this little hose accessory to basically put it in the person's mouth and decide to perform CPU on the person. The one I have was removed, but in the other one. We'll get to that, later. Yeah, there's also 3 variants out there. The A2 have it being removed, and even, like, field removed, too. So, this is the one that was field removed. Yeah. Man, it really got me out there. It really did. Like, I was about to show you the surprise out there, but damn, that really screwed me over. But yeah, and some of them will be like removed out there, like by manually, or have its own variant out there, the A2, which is removed that variant, that feature out, but still have the tab on there. Yeah, still have that little bad boy on there. So yeah, just somehow goofy to look at that. Of course, you got the voice, basically the voice, which they do have a voice diaphragm for this thing. But I could not find any photos of it. So, unfortunately, that's kind of... But it does have a name to it. I forgot the name. Of course, you have the 6-point skull harness. Basically made of elastic. Basically, all have basically the buckle surround it. And of course, another thing that I will be pointing out, and this is another common from a lot of M17s, the yellow tinted. That's actually a blemish out there. Yeah, that is basically a blemish for the mask. And inside of the mask, alongside with the inhale assembly, and then the exhale. Let's go look at inside the mask. Of course, there is this is what inside of the mask is. Now, for function to it, it will breathe inside here, goes into there, the T-SAW tube system, and then exhale alongside with the voice diaphragm. So, where is the filter? Well, if you definitely know what the biggest flaw out there is, the filter's inside of the mask. Yes, it's inside. It's actually noticeable by basically the cheek filter system. Now, so concept on paper, and we are going to demonstrate this. So, how you first start disassembling this, or taking the filter out, is basically removing these guys out. Oh. And after that, you take the buttons out. There's 4 buttons, 2 buttons secured on both sides. First, you take off the oral nasal cup. Then you take these 2 buttons out from this layer. And after that, you pull this entire bottom part out. And after that, you... Oh. Then you take the filter out. The cheek filter out. Yeah, that's the biggest pain in the neck. It's my biggest pain in the neck out there. And I always say it. Cheek filters are always been like the biggest pain in the neck in history. Well, that, alongside of playing Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde on the NES, with the hilariously best box art in existence. I'm not kidding. I love that box art. Yeah, you take that filter out. Oh, God dang. Is it stuck? Of course, you also have to stretch that out, too. Oh, my God. Oh, God. I'm fighting the mask, like... Yeah, little... Take that out. Okay, the filter out. Then you get to the other one. There you go. Now, these are what the filters are. Yep, these are what the filters are. Yeah, this one's not really good in condition, because they look really dirty. It looks like someone just put that in the woods and put it in a shed and calls it a day. And then take like 30 years and it's like, oh crap, this is what it looks like. I just put the mask in the shed with like inside of a barn out there. Now, let's get the filters back inside the mask. You actually do the opposite of it. You basically do it backwards. And you basically... Oh, it's actually more easier to get them out, or inside now. And then you basically line up the filter. Oh my God. Oh, the whole laser cups fighting me. But you still have to put that edge on there too. And you get this little lined up. Yep, they're getting a little lined up out there. Yep, that's how you get there. And then you put the little cap in there. This actually implies with the M17 A1 and A2, so it's basically kind of put the same out there. Let me get the filter. Oh no, I'm not fighting you. Okay. And you perfectly line that whole area. You perfectly line them up. Get the little cap in there. Oh no. There we go. And then after that, then we get to the final steps out there. So getting these little buttons in there. Oh no, it's stuck. Okay. And now, after that, you're going to put the little buttons inside of it. Got little buttons in there. Okay, I got the little... Oh, no. Okay, then we got the buttons in there, and there you go. That is how you basically switch the filters out for the M17 in the M17A1. Now let's get to the other. Now let's go test the mask itself. So this is what it sounds like with the mask on. And certainly not at last the M17A1s, rather the more common variants of the M17 series. Now, the biggest noticeable out there when you see that, the most common one, it's actually the one with the drinking straw. It's rather very common variant, and that's not a bad thing about it. There's also a couple variants existed, like the M17A2, where they removed the resuscitation tube, unlike the unfortunate victim of the M17, or the APC M17. But the one that I have, all have the resuscitation tube. Now, that's the only difference out there, is the drinking straw. And let's go look inside of the mask itself. Now, it's actually had the connector port, basically for the canteen. You can... Oh, there it's right there. Now, for the canteen, or basically the... I know that I have the canteen. Yeah, this canteen that has the little cap out there. So, how it functions... There's like a little rod in there, little metal piece in there. So when it goes in there, this little piece, that the coupler in there, that's what it's called. That little thing, that will push inside of it, and then the drink, what basically water will go in there, basically as a drinking straw. Now let's go look inside of the mask itself, where the straw itself, with the little lever piece, when you're basically going to use the drinking straw, you'll use this lever piece to actually drink the water out of it. And yes, it has the little spring inside of it. So that is basically the only difference from there. Oh, and another like little big old plastic piece inside of it. So that is basically what's the entirety of the M17A, basically the M17 and the M17A1 with the resuscitation tube. Now, another thing that I did notice out there and does exist, there's actually a microphone port basically like put on there, and those are quite pretty scarce to find out there. Now, let's go. Now, what's actually funny about it, now this was used in the Gulf War, which that's actually the later variant out there. But what's actually interesting about this, and inside of the M17A1 or the A2, where the M17A2 does not have the resuscitation tube, but the one I have, they'll have this. One I have has the resuscitation tube still intact in there. So that's kind of a weird, really weird thing to see here. That's like inside of it. There's also like oral nasal cuff for the M17, basically all the series. Possibly the more rare ones are basically the XS and the XL. The most common ones are basically the small, medium, and large. So that's another thing that's a little note on the mask itself. Now, let's go try all the masks, including the winterization kit. Let's go try this bad boys out. Before I start testing these masks out, there's actually one piece of gear that I know it does come with it, and I forgot to put that in the accessories video, or the accessories area. This right here, the M13 decontamination and repregnating kit. Now, this thing here is basically, it actually has all of the contents. I know it's actually really not in a good, really banged up condition. But yes, and this is how you use it, the instructions for it. Now, pause the video if you want to read all this. And alongside with this one, because it actually has all of the contents. I'm not going to use that at all. And here is it on top of it. So that is a little note on here. So let's go begin testing out the masks. So this is what it sounds like with the M17A1 on. Now let's talk about the pros of the mask. Now, the pros of the mask, despite the mask itself, as you could definitely know, it wasn't very, like, cumbersome out there, basically being a little bigger. But the problem is, and this is really giant con, alongside with the M17A1, where it comes with the drinking straw, but of course, the entirety of the con is how heavy it is, which that's understandable, and also the filter, as you see me basically switching the filters out. It is a pain in the neck to actually switch the filters out. Not only that, so that it is really weird. So that's actually pretty flawed mask out there. And another thing about this, yeah, they actually had a different type of mask that basically, in fact, it actually got destroyed, basically got decimated by the XM28. Yes, this little guy, but don't worry, we'll get to that guy, is somehow actually weighs less than the M17. So it's actually pretty heavier than ever before. But it's actually just have this really weird impact out there. Despite its flaws of the M17, it actually had a lot in common with it. Now, since the mask had been basically was going all through the Gulf War, basically the mask of the Gulf War even come with another particular piece of accessory. The helmet cover for the Pasket helmet actually had this thing on there. Yeah, that's an interesting piece out there. And it's actually kind of want to put this out here, and I sound a little biased out there. I actually like the M17. Yeah, I do like the M17, or the M17A1, and even a particular, well, XM alongside with it. This is just one of those masks that does have flaws. Despite its flaws, it actually kind of does have a little charm out there, which is an understandable thing. Now, it may be a flawed mask. Heck, there's actually a lot of other, like, Europe masks that actually use M40, basically the 40mm filters. Things like the British, the Germany, which they have usage of Germany for the M65, British for the SR6, and even the France in Belgium, which, if you did noticing out here, the M51 in the BM4GP, it is just like it's just like watching a bad movie. Like, it maybe look bad, like a particular movie like Manos, The Hands of Fate. At least it's something that it does hold a charm to it. I know, I'm comparing bad movies to gas masks. Hell, I actually think this is more like something rather an interesting heart to it. So, let's get my unbiased. I know that's going to go against me by the comments. Don't worry about that. So, I give the M17, the ABC M17, yes, this little guy, basically a 6 out of 10. While the A1, the M17A1s, basically get a 7 out of 10. Despite its flaws of the M17 series, I think I do recommend buying it if you're basically a US gas mask collector, or basically looking for what type of mask are quite a bit easy to find. Again, these masks are kind of easy to find, just look pretty good. They sometimes may look really bad conditioned to rather really good condition masks. So I recommend it as a collector's piece, not really much like an actual survival piece. But I will just say this out here. There's also another misconception onto this thing. And this, the entirety of the cheek filter of usage of tear gas. Well, to be honest here, as you could definitely know from the two pieces out there, that's kind of a bit false out there. They are called as ABC M17. But as you could definitely know, that wraps up the M17 series. If I find more of them with newer accessories, which has another piece of accessory which I really wish I could have, is the laser tinted ones. But if I find more pieces of them and the resuscitation tube, I will definitely do a part 2 or even actually add them in the video. Or as actually basically do a part 2 of it. Well, that wraps up the M17 series. As you could definitely know, tune in next time. We'll get to the mask that was used for the 1st Cavalry, or the 1st Chivalry, and a comparison between all of the cheek filtered masks. I'm Tiboy, and I'm signing out.